Hi guys! Kumusta na po? Hello, hello! Cecilia B. Arland here. Guys, this is a special video of mine because I am happy and privileged that I shared my friend's video or experience or story. So this is a real life story. So she's my friend 20 years now, and she is also colleagues of mine here. So I'm sure na some of us na makarelate nito, guys. So keep on watching, and just a wee chat and a little time for this video, and maybe we can gain inputs or lesson here, and also this is the time or the situation the mental illness is kind of prevalent now, or maybe yung madami na talaga. So I'm sure guys na makahelp to sa atin, and without further ado guys, I will introduce to you my friend. Her name is Angeline Collins Driver, and I am very privileged that she allowed me to share her story in my YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Angeline, for this video that you shared, and also to Column O'Brien Motivation. I watched that on 26th of December. So I'm so happy and I'm very proud of you, Angeline, what you had now. And also you are so strong. And so guys, the advocacy niya, so maybe we can share as well. So thank you so much for watching, and hope to you like it and share as well. Bye!
Hi everyone, my name is Angeline Collins Driver, and I am a very good friend of Cecilia's, and I want to say hello to all her subscribers on YouTube, and to thank you all for looking at my story. I'm also the founder of Ohana Zero Suicide, and my passion and my purpose is to really reduce suicide in Ireland and across the world. So I would hope that by listening to my story that I can help somebody else, and also that you all log on to ohana.ie and do the training that will really support people in being able to see the signs, know what to say, and then get the resources that are available to help somebody in distress. So thank you, Cecilia, for sharing my story. I hope we'll be friends for a long, long time, and good luck with your new YouTube channel. Bye everybody. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are more than welcome to this episode 90, we understand, of the Coffee at 11 show. Delighted to have you here, and thank you for taking time out to join us. And in particular, I'd like to welcome our very special guest this morning, Angeline Collins Driver, who's zooming all the way in from Donegal with an extremely important message for us all. Angeline, please say hello and cheers us with your coffee cup or mug, if you have one.
Hello everybody.
Lovely, lovely. Before I bring Angeline in, let me just tell you a little bit about this remarkable lady. Her business, or her organisation, is not a business, is called Ohana Zero Suicide. She says, we are a team of ordinary individuals from all walks of life, of all ages, that are passionate about making a difference in the numbers of people who take their own life by providing training that empowers people to show they care. asking the appropriate questions in the appropriate language, and then making the call for the help required. We believe that taking action and being proactive is required to change behaviours, and by changing behaviours, we can change culture. She says, we have a core team of 16 formed in January 2020. And she says she's worked in the HSE since 1990 as a social care worker with adults with intellectual disabilities, founder of Ohana Zero Suicide. And Ohana means family in Hawaiian. I love this. She says, I love the tagline. I'm a Disney fan too, by the way, Angeline. She says, I love the tagline from the Disney film Lilo and Stitch, family where no one is left behind. Isn't that just lovely? Family where no one is left behind. And she says, this really resonated with me. She says she's been a suicide prevention volunteer with Cycle Against Suicide since 2014, and the stories of heartache and devastation she's heard in the last few years has really convinced Angeline that action and responsibility has got to be taken by everyone in every community, in every county, to stop this happening to any other family, mother, father, sister, brother, friend, colleague. We all get into action when something happens. This is really interesting. So what about getting proactive so we can stop it before it happens and avoid the tsunami of grief? And I just think that's such a lovely question. That's one we're going to explore today. She says this training that we are rolling out, which, by the way, was launched nationally yesterday, provides the tools to know what to say and what to do if you feel someone is in distress. It's free and it takes approximately 20 minutes, and it could help to save a life. Proud to say that I took the training very recently because of the intervention of Noelle McAlinden. Noelle, you're very welcome. Lovely to have you here today. But it's a very special privilege to have the lady who kicked it all off, Angeline Collins-Driver, with us today. She asks, she says, I asked the question, what is something people don't know about you? And this is where it gets a bit serious. She says, I was sexually abused as a child. I attempted suicide at 14 years. I had my 60th birthday in March, looking well on it. I have an Irish record for powerlifting, deadlift. I love life, and I want people to persevere and to promote and live life passionately. Angeline Collins-Driver, that is some introduction. That is some introduction. And Bula Bus I saw it there around the cafe, silent Bula Bus. Angeline, a real pleasure having you here, and thanks for taking the time. I know you've had a very busy 24 hours. And so thank you for taking time out to be with us here this morning. As I said before the show began, it's been one of the most shared and liked and commented upon pre-show blurbs that we've put out. And I think it's because of the importance of the message. So we'll get to Ohana. We'll get to Ohana and we'll get to that wonderful work that you're doing. But will you bring us back, if you don't mind, bring us back to young Angeline and what form of the person that we see in front of us today, please.
Okay, well, young Angeline was born in Manchester. I had two sisters and two brothers, 5 of us in the family. So the 3 girls were born in Manchester, and when I was 3, we moved to Galway, where the 2 boys were born, and that's where I grew up. So at 19, I got married and moved to Donegal. So my childhood, I suppose, was happy out the country, living in a small village where very close neighbours, very close neighbourhood, where everybody helped everybody else. And I suppose, being sexually abused at about 7 years of age, that was something I didn't talk about. Didn't know how to talk about it really, and it was only in puberty probably and my early teens when we started to go out with boys, and that it probably started to resurface a little bit, maybe not even knowing what was happening to me, but just rebelling and acting really, playing up, being bold, not getting on with my mum. And at about 14 years of age, I attempted suicide. So thank God, luckily for me, it didn't happen. I survived it and didn't really talk about that either for a long time, but I knew I wanted to get out of where I was living, because the person that had abused me lived in the same neighbourhood, and I wanted to get away. I got married, as I say, at 19. And one of the reasons probably I got married at 19, and I have to say my ex-husband is a really, really lovely man. He was a very, very good father. We have 2 children, a boy and a girl, grown up now. And I suppose all of that was hard to keep under wraps, but getting away was probably the best option I had, was getting away from it. I couldn't talk to my parents about it. It just wasn't something that you talked about. And if I had, even when I did share it with my mum a long time afterwards, it was like, but that was a long time ago. You know, aren't you fine? You know, she didn't really know how to deal with it.
I was just going to pause there for a moment, allow you to catch your breath, maybe take a sip of coffee, and just reflect. And yet again, thank you for coming on and being open to. Yeah, thanks indeed, Sarah. Being open to be vulnerable here in front of these people here in the cafe, and indeed anybody else who's watching or listening on replay, because I do think there's magic if we're able to be vulnerable. I think that magic can happen, because somebody somewhere will listen to your story, Angeline, and say, me too. And it may allow them, empower them to have a conversation. Something that I'm going to ask you about, if I may, because I think it's pertinent, is I spoke with Angeline just before you all came in and asked, was she okay that I would read out some of that stuff about being abused as a child and attempting her own life at 14, and she said, yes, today is the day. Will you tell us what you said to me thereafter, please, Angeline?
Well, just before that, before I came on today, I created, what I was going to be moving forward, and what it is just, having openness, compassion, and love. And I don't think you can have that without being truly open and honest about yourself, and what you've gone through in the past and what has made you who you are today. So I believe now that, what happened to me in the past has me right here where I am, helping others. And I absolutely believe that some of the people that take their own lives have been abused, or something traumatic has happened to them that they just cannot cope with. And just to say to anybody that is feeling like that there absolutely is hope, and there is somebody, and I mean, the Samaritans number is 116123, and they're always there, to talk to if that's what you feel like. But, suicide is absolutely not the answer. And I often think if I had taken my own life at 14, how my parents and how my 2 sisters and my 2 brothers would have lived, from that date moving forward, with that void of me not being there in their lives. And I've seen that, with Cycle Against Suicide, with so many people. There's a pain and a hurt in people's eyes, from losing somebody to suicide. That is, it's just incomprehensible how it must feel, so.
Yeah, I fully accepted. I think in terms of today being the day, you found yourself, you launched Ohana yesterday in Dublin. Well done on that. And I know there's a lot of media attention over this last 24 hours and will continue. Yes, indeed, Seamus. And but you found yourself not having to, but you chose to have a conversation with your son in the States. Would you touch on that?
Yeah. My son is 38. He's married in the States. He's got 2 little girls. I've got 2 granddaughters and 1 grandson in Perth in Australia. And I'd never spoken to my son about this. And I'd wanted to, but I didn't know how I was going to. I have a great relationship with my son. We could talk for hours on the phone about everything, but we never actually touched on this. So I knew today was the day, and I wanted to share it with him before he heard it on a podcast, because I knew he was going to be interested in hearing what we were going to talk about. So last night, very late, I called him because there's a 5-hour difference, and I told him what had happened to me. And I really reassured him, of course, that this happened a long time ago, and I am now able to leave it there. I can talk about it, I can discuss it, but I don't carry it as in a painful way anymore. It doesn't have any hold on me, and it doesn't have any power over me. Which is absolutely great. And anytime I call my son, like he's an Irish man now living in New York or in Pennsylvania now, and whenever we'd hang up or just before we'd hang up, I would always say, love you, Stevie, and he'd say, bye-bye, Mum, good luck. And I'd always think, he never says he loves me, but I know he does. But last night, whenever we finished up, he said, "Love you, Mum." And that just meant the world to me, because I knew he meant it, and I knew he was supporting me in the way that he could, even though it was thousands of miles apart, between us. But it was like a hug. It was like one of the virtual hugs that you get nowadays, So my daughter, I had spoken to my daughter a long time ago about this, and she'd often said to me, you tell Stevie. And I said, yeah, I will tell Stevie when the time is right. So the time is now, Colin.
The time
There's
is
no
now.
other time.
The time is now, Angeline. The time is now. And thank you for sharing that. And yours wasn't the only voice that cracked. I kept mine off camera. And there have been a few tears shed in the last moment or two. Sheer love. By the way, my son's name is Stevie. 28. He's 28 next week. Listen, wonderful stuff. Very heartwarming. Your other children then, somebody in Perth, my sister's in Perth, so who's in Perth?
Wow. Yeah, my daughter's in Perth, Natasha. Okay. Yeah, she's a teacher there, a primary school teacher. She lives there with her husband, James. And then I have 4 stepchildren. Jerry has 4 children. He has 3 daughters and a son. Shifra lives in Norwich, and the rest of them live around Donegal, here around close by where we live. Grown up again, all fabulous.
That's great. That's
with plenty, yeah.
That's lovely. But it's very real, and the way you described it, the way you described, had you been successful, which is a shocking term, at age 14, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But no. The void that you described there, that's palpable. We can see it and feel it. Haven't experienced it directly, thankfully, thank the Lord. But we're fully aware of it. And I want to thank Noelle McAlinden. She was the brave soul who came onto the Coffee at 11 show and got very real about this stuff. Noelle, regrettably having lost two sisters to suicide. And Noelle, thanks for opening up the conversation. And I suppose allowing us get to this point where we're perhaps taking some positive steps together. We'll put the link into the chat box for everybody, ohana.ie. And I would encourage everybody, it's a personal journey obviously, but when the time is right, today is the day for Angeline, but when the day is right for you, take the training, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of your time. And it'll just give you a little bit, I've done it, it'll give you a little bit of comfort knowing you probably will see the signs and you probably know what to do about it. That's the best way layman can explain it. I hope that's okay, Angeline.
Yeah.
If I may, as it happens, I just came off a board meeting. I'm on the board of CARI, Children's Risk in Ireland, which regrettably exists to work with children and families, children who have been affected by child sexual abuse. Regrettably, it has to exist. And I find it ironic that I've come off that board meeting this morning directly into this conversation. And that is a part of your journey. It's a shocking indictment on society, but it's real. And education, I think, is one of the solutions into the future, because we can't turn the clock back, but we can positively affect the future. Angeline, what would you like to achieve with Ohana?
Well, Ohana was started really because of 9 words that I had heard in a talk on Cycle Against Suicide about 4 or 5 years ago. And the 9 words were: show you care, ask the question, and make the call. And it was put so simply, in the talk, that it just really stuck with me. And I recently, because of COVID and because, the assist programs and the Safe Talk programs that were being delivered, face to face in different communities were all put on hold. And, in this time of such isolation, financial problems, job losses, there was nothing there that, could support people. So we started doing a bit of research and discovered that this course was available in the UK and totally endorsed by the NHS. So we looked to see if we could bring it to Ireland and adapt it slightly, to take out, the UK statistics and put in something that was relevant to Ireland and the Irish resources. So we approached ZSA, which was Angela Samata and Steve Mullen, and they were absolutely fabulous. They just said, no problem at all. We'll give you whatever you need. Just make sure, because both of them, and I need to stress, Colm, that I'm not an expert, by any manner or means. None of us are on the team. All we are is really people that want to make a difference, and want to make this available to everybody. And neither were Angela and Steve at the time. They were also experts by experience only. But they had delivered this training, which was, as you said, 30 minutes. And it gave people the tools to show that you cared. First of all, to actually listen to somebody when they, their behaviour slightly changed or something was off. To actually say, are you okay? Maybe taking a few days off that's not normal, or saying something that's not, regular for them. And then, just asking the question, are you, if it's relevant, are you suicidal? Have you felt suicidal? Actually saying that word, because sometimes we pussyfoot around things by saying you're not thinking of doing something silly. And by saying that, you're actually, maybe the person is thinking, you'll think I'm silly. I can't talk about this because, obviously you think it's going to be silly. So by using the correct language and being able to say things clearly and communicate clearly would make the difference in that person opening up. And then knowing what to do if they say that, yes, this is how I feel. Being able to respond appropriately, whether it's to stay with them until the services arrive or get them the counselling that they need, because some people might say, no, I'm not thinking of doing that, but I actually don't, I'm not happy, I need to talk to somebody. And that might be all they need, so not everybody is going to take their own lives, so don't get us wrong. And we're not the suicide police. We're not watching everybody, thing, but we're just showing a bit of compassion, empathy, and just, if everybody looked after, a small group in their own community, this is what would happen. We'd all be, have that capability to just be there and not always leave it to the professionals, and give them the responsibility. Let's take some responsibility ourselves, because when it happens, communities do respond and they all help and they all come together. But that was what I was saying, in the introduction that you gave. Let's be proactive instead of reactive, and look out for people.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm getting from you and from Ohana. As you say, you're not experts. You're just people
absolutely not.
And you feel you can do something, and if you can do something, you should. And and you've taken that step. I love those 9 words: show you care, ask the question, make the call. So simple. And those 9 words spoke to you, and you've kicked off this here in Ireland, and thank you for that. One of the things that I found interesting in the training, and I really would encourage everybody to go through it, you've got to decide what's right for you. But one of the things I found really interesting in the training was what you just spoke about there, Angeline, which is name it, call it what it is, mention the word suicide. And even the way you described it there, I thought that was very useful, because we probably would more naturally say, I think you're doing something silly, but the possible wrong ramifications of using that word in the context of the conversation are greater than actually naming it. Do you want to touch on that for a quick sec?
Yeah.